This video is about dimensional analysis. We're going to go through just a couple of practice problems here. So you're going to need a pencil, notebook, calculator, and any conversion chart that your teacher possibly gave you, or being able to look up online some of the conversion factors that are there. While we are going through these problems together, please make sure that you are copying down exactly how they are written. We're going to be looking for these types of organizational structures just to make it easier as we go and get to the more difficult types of problems. So for this first one here, we have 5,400 inches that we are then going to convert into miles. And so remember, we always take what we're given or what we start with. So we're given 5,400 miles or inches, and so once we write what we are starting with, then we want to write where we want to get to our end label, which is miles. And so we're going to go back then to the start. Once now we know where we're starting, we know where we're ending, so now we got to fill in the middle here. So let's go back to the 5,400, and I know they're not everyone's favorite, but we are going to have to change this to a fraction. And remember, it's a what can I divide 5,400 by in order to keep it the same? And that, of course, always is a 1. We can always divide by 1. We want to make sure that we have our 5,400 in the numerator, and then we have our 1 in the denominator. And we're going to then take inches, and we are going to try to convert them into miles. And so inches is on top. And just a reminder that if inches is on top and I want to cross it off, I need to make sure that I put then inches on the bottom. When we are going through division, if we have 1 on top and 1 on the bottom, then we're able to cross those out here in just a second. Once we put inches on the bottom, we need to figure out what our label is going to be on top. And if we know how many inches there are in a mile, then we could put miles here. But me personally, I don't actually know how many that is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to think of something in between, something a little bit bigger in length than inches, that then I could convert inches to make things a little bit easier. And with that said, I hope you're thinking about converting it into feet, because I know that in 1 foot there are 12 inches. And so I have these inches on the bottom here because I have inches on top up there, so I know that those will cross off. And then I'm able to think, okay, I have feet now. I need to convert that into miles, so I'm not quite done. So I'm going to multiply again by another conversion factor. Feet is on top. I want to get rid of that, so I'm going to put it on the bottom. And then, do I know how many feet there are in a mile? And if you don't have a chart with you, again, you can always go to Google and check that out. But feet then to miles, you would know that in 1 mile there are 5,280 feet. That's something that you should keep in mind and you should know as you are going through these types of problems. That at least is a conversion factor that is more common. And so I cross off my feet and I'm left with miles, and if I look at where I'm ending, that's where I need to stop. I put an equal sign, and then now I multiply across, and so I multiply everything in the numerator, everything in the top there, and I get 5,400 times 1 times 1, that's 5,400. Go to the bottom, 1 times 12 times 5,280, I go to my calculator, so 12 times 5,280, and I would get 63360. And then I know that I need a unit rate. So a unit rate, reminder, is just with a denominator of 1. And so in order to get that, what I need to do is I need to take these two numbers and divide them. And so I take the top number divided by the bottom number always, and I get, so I take 5,400, divide that by 63360, and I get, let me make a little bit more space here for my miles. There we go. Okay, I get 0.085227273, so that looks like enough decimal places that I'm going to go out. That 2 is going to keep this 5A5, and then I would label, of course, with my end result, which is miles. And so 5,400 inches is the same thing as 0.085 miles. That would be my final answer. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to then just scroll down here. Let's try another problem. If you're starting to feel confident with these types of problems, what I would have you do right now is I'm going to have you pause the video. I want you to try to convert 36 centimeters per second into miles per hour. If you feel confident, try it on your own, and then come on back and see if you got the correct answer. If you are still iffy on this type of problem, let's do it together, and let's make sure that you are taking notes. And so I have 36 centimeters per second, so I'm going to put 36 centimeters. This per means that we're going to create it a fraction. A lot of the times we would call this line that I just drew a per line. So we have 36 centimeters per second, aka 1 second. That's what I'm starting with. That's what I'm given. And then I'm going to write what I want to end up with in the end. So I'm going to left with miles per hour. Now this one's a little bit different than the other one because the first one we only had one unit, and that was in the numerator. Now we have centimeters on top, and we need to convert that into miles. We have seconds on the bottom, we need to convert that into hours. And so we need to take both of these and we need to convert them. But we can't do it at the same time. So we take one and then we move on. Once we get that one done, then we move on to the next one. And so you have your choice. Me personally, I'm going to go with the top one because that seems harder to me because we're going from centimeters, which is a metric unit, to miles, which is then a US unit. And so I'm going to multiply. I'm going to get rid of that one first. So let's take centimeters. It's on top, and so I'm going to put centimeters then on the bottom. Do I know how many centimeters there are in a mile? I don't. And so what you can do is you can look up how to convert centimeters into a US unit. Typically, the unit that you're going to convert it into is inches, because inches and centimeters are very close together. If you look down on the chart that your teacher might have given to you, it's on the second column there. If you scroll down to the second from the bottom, it says that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. That could also be found online, as I mentioned before. And so we have centimeters on top and centimeters on the bottom, so we know that those then cross each other off. I'm left with inches. And so going over, and I want to convert inches into miles, well, think back to the first problem that we just did. We're going to do the same exact thing. And so I'm going to multiply by conversion factor. I have inches on top, so I'm going to put inches on the bottom. And again, I don't know how many inches there are in a mile, but I do know how many inches there are in a foot. And so I know that in 1 foot there are 12 inches. Inches on top, inches on bottom, cross off. Now I have feet, and I want miles, so I'm going to go one more step, because I'm going to put feet on the bottom, miles on top, and I know that in 1 mile there are 5,280 feet. Feet then cross off. Now, I have my label on top. I have miles, so I'm good with the top, I'm good with the numerator, but now I need to convert the denominator here. I have seconds back at the beginning, so I need to convert that into hours. Looking at where seconds is, seconds, as I said, was on the bottom, and so I'm going to put seconds on top. Do you know how many seconds there are in an hour? If you do, you can convert it, but for me personally, I don't, so I'm going to think of what, based on time, what is in the middle of seconds and hours. That would be minutes. And I know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. Seconds is on top, seconds is on the bottom, they cross off. I need to go from minutes now to hours. So I'm going to multiply, and it looks like I think one more time. So I have minutes here. I'm going to put minutes then on top so that those will eventually cross off. Do I know how many minutes there are in an hour? I do. There's 60 minutes in 1 hour. Minutes cross off. I'm left with miles, as I circled from before, and hours on the bottom, which is what I want from the beginning. So now I'm going to multiply across. I'm going to take all my numerators and multiply them together. So 36 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 60 times 60. So really all those ones you really don't need to multiply because we know that that'll be the same. But 36 times 60 times 60, I get 129,600 all over the denominator, which is 1 times 2.54 times 12 times 5,280 times 1 times 1. So I have 1 times 2.54 times 12 times 5,280 times 1, again, doesn't change anything, so I'm just going to hit enter. And I get 160,934.4. I want a unit rate, which means that I'm going to take those two numbers and divide them. So I have 129,600 all over 160,934.4. I'm going to take those two numbers and divide them. So 129,600, grab my calculator, divide that by 160,934.4, and I get 0.805297065 dot 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 dot. But that's enough. That's enough decimals for me. What's my label on top? Oh, I forgot to put that up there. Miles per hour. So I'm left with miles per 1 hour there, and that would be my final answer. So thanks again for listening. Keep practicing these. These are very difficult, but it helps to make sure that you are staying organized as you go through. The more you practice, the easier these are going to become. If you need more help, please make sure you're checking in with your teacher, or you can always replay the video. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.